The 13th figure. Daniel had never been sentimental about family heirlooms. His grandfather's death hadn't stirred grief so much as a dull resignation, another chapter closed, another obligation to fulfill. But when the will was read and the old countryside house in Ashridge Hollow was left to him, something unexpected tugged at him. Not nostalgia, not love, but a quiet, gnawing need to escape. The city had become a cacophony of sirens, shouting, and the ever-present hum of machines. The house, though decaying, offered silence. And silence, he thought, was better than noise. The first week was spent clearing out decades of dust and forgotten belongings. The attic was a graveyard of memories, yellowed newspapers, rusted pocket watches, a child's rocking horse with one broken leg. He worked methodically, tossing most of it into black garbage bags without a second thought. Then, beneath a moth-eaten tarp in the farthest corner, he found the album. It was bound in cracked leather, the spine brittle with age. The year 1913 was embossed in faded gold on the cover. Inside, the pages were stiff, the photographs carefully mounted. Most were landscapes, portraits of stiff-lipped men and women in high-collared dresses. But one stood out. A group of 10 people stood in front of the very house he now occupied. Their expressions were solemn, their postures rigid, as if they had been arranged for something more than a simple family portrait. What unsettled him wasn't the people themselves, but the empty space between them, a gap too wide, too deliberate, as though someone had been erased. He shrugged it off. An oddity, nothing more. He placed the photo in the simple wooden frame and set it on the mantel in the living room, where it gathered dust alongside a few other relics he hadn't yet thrown away. That night, he dreamed of whispers. Not words, exactly, just sounds, murmurs that curled around his ears like smoke. He woke with a start, his sheets damp with sweat. The room was silent. The house was silent, but the photograph wasn't. The next morning, as he passed the mantel, he froze. There were now 11 figures in the photo. The new addition stood in the gap that had been empty the day before, tall, blurred, its features indistinct. Genderless. Faceless. Just a shadow where no shadow should have been. Daniel's coffee slipped from his fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. He tore the photo from the frame, turning it over in his hands. No marks, no signs of tampering. He scanned it, magnified it on his computer, searching for evidence of manipulation. Nothing. His friend, a historian at the local university, examined it under specialized lighting. The paper, the chemicals, the aging, all authentic. No digital interference. This is from 1913, she confirmed. No one's altered it. That night, another figure appeared. A child this time, small and hunched, clutching something in its hands, a doll, perhaps, or a small animal. Daniel stopped sleeping. By the 6th night, the line of figures had grown to 13, the newest additions were worse than the first. A woman with her back turned. A man in a long coat and wide-brimmed hat, head bowed. A figure with no face at all, just a dark smear where eyes and mouth should have been. And then, the worst of them all. The 11th figure was him. Not a perfect likeness, but close enough, the same slope of his shoulders, the same unruly hair. His stomach lurched. There were 2 spaces left. He tore through his grandfather's journals, desperate for answers. Most were mundane, notes on the weather, complaints about the garden, lists of groceries. But in one, tucked between pages of faded ink, he found a single, chilling entry: "I buried it under the stairs. Let it stay there. If the photo wakes, don't watch it. It will see you." Under the stairs, wrapped in oiled cloth, he found another photograph. The same image. But this one already had 12 figures. And in the final space, a smudge, as if something were forming. He tried to destroy them. Burned them, tore them to pieces. But by morning, they were whole again, waiting for him. On his desk. On his pillow. Taped to the bathroom mirror. He fled. Drove until his tank was empty, checked into a motel under a false name. But the photographs followed. In his suitcase. On the back of his receipt. Tucked into the motel Bible. That night, the 13th space filled. When the manager came to check on him the next morning, the room was empty. No sign of Daniel. Just his wallet on the nightstand. And on the dresser, a single photograph, now complete. 13 figures. All staring forward. Waiting, The 13th figure Daniel had spent his entire life running from things, responsibilities, relationships, his own reflection in the mirror. So when his grandfather's will named him the sole inheritor of the crumbling Ashridge Hollow house, he almost laughed. The old man had known him too well. Knew he'd never refuse free shelter, no matter how haunted it might be. The first night in the house, the silence was oppressive, not peaceful, but watchful. As if the walls were holding their breath. He found the album on the third day, buried beneath a collapsed shelf in the attic. The leather was cracked, the spine splitting. 1913 gleamed dully in the dim light. The photograph inside was wrong. 10 people stood in a neat row in front of the house, their expressions flat, their eyes too dark. The composition was off, too much space between them, as if someone had been cut out. He should have burned it then. But he didn't. He framed it. That night, the whispers started. Not from the walls. Not from the wind. From the photograph. The next morning, there were 11 figures. The new one stood in the gap, its edges blurred, its face a smudge of gray. Daniel told himself he was imagining things. But the next night, another appeared. A child. Then a woman with her back turned. Then a man in a long coat, head bowed. Then one with no face at all. Then, him. His own face, staring back. He tore the house apart, searching for answers. His grandfather's journals mention the photo only once. I buried it under the stairs. Let it stay there. If the photo wakes, don't watch it. It will see you. Under the stairs, wrapped in oiled cloth, he found the second version. 12 figures. One space left. He burned them both. They came back. He buried them in the woods. They reappeared in his dresser drawer. He drove to the next town over, checked into a motel, locked the door. But the photographs were already there. Taped to the mirror. Slipped into his suitcase. Pressed between the pages of the Gideon Bible. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the photo in his hands. 12 figures. One empty space. And then, a flicker. A shift. A 13th shadow, bleeding into existence. In the morning, the motel room was empty. No sign of Daniel. Just the photograph on the nightstand. All 13 spaces filled. All 13 figures staring. Waiting. For the next one to look too long.